like to do. And I said, I really wouldn't mind if it rained every night during the overnight, as long as it was done and people could get on with their day without worrying about the rain, without worrying about a wet lawn or wet pavement where you have to think about people skidding on the road, that kind of stuff. And she gave me that, well, it would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice. Unfortunately, the weather doesn't cooperate at any rate. Let us be on with the fact that this is Brian's Beat. I cooperate. I get in here on Saturday mornings. I love being with you. And you love being with me, don't you, too? Yes. This show is the only show on this station and across the nation truly at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. How about the Red Sox? They lost 5 games in a row until last night. 5-0 winners over the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's look at our program for today. Let's see. Oh, a negative vote for affirmative action. Talk about sparking fireworks. Independence Day taking on new meaning as legal illegals can begin applying for a Massachusetts driver's license. Not right now. Registry of Motor Vehicles isn't open. Won't be open until Monday. What else do we have? Oh, are you okay? Are you okay with third graders learning in school that they can change their gender? Apparently, Governor Healy is. We'll have more of that on Big Government Stories today. Jim has the 411 on tomorrow's Town Square Sunday. The Bitcoin Business Barometer next half hour. The Brian's Beat quote of the day also coming up for you. But first, let's take a little peek. A little peek at the 182nd day of the year. And if I can tell you that today is the 182nd day, without it really being so, we are at the halfway point of this calendar year. Where's the time gone? I don't know. I can tell you that at 12 noon today, we get to the halfway point of the calendar year. Now, that's 12 noon in your own particular time zone. So if you're in England, you're there. All right? You're already into the second half of 2023. If you're in Australia, you're almost through the day. But at any rate, 182 days, if you multiply that times 2, that's 364. There are 365 days in the calendar year, except next year, leap year, presidential election year, when we have 366 days, and then the 183rd day, which would be tomorrow, at midnight, you're halfway through the year. Enough of that lesson. Let's talk about the exciting stuff. On today, July 1st, 2023. It's American Zoo Day. Give a nice shout out or a salute to your local zoo. Buttonwood Park, hello. Now we start getting into some of the nutsy stuff. It's Early Bird Day. And when I get up early in the morning like I do to come into WBSM on a Saturday morning, it's dark outside when I'm up and roaming about. And the birds are going tweet, 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 as birds do. And it made me wonder about that saying. Once again, the brain just doesn't want to stop. The early bird catches the worm. I wonder, how true is that? And I wondered about that chirping that I hear. And I'm thinking, that chirping is going on because the birds haven't caught the worm. Because if they had caught the worm, you wouldn't hear chirping. They'd be eating the worm. They'd be happy birds. Think about it. When you're sitting down at the table eating a very good meal, are you doing a lot of chit-chat or are you enjoying the meal? I rest my case. Estee Lauder Day. Why? I don't. Yeah, she was a person. But now we get into cosmetics, and I think there's also perfume with Estee Lauder. Toilet water. You ready for some more silly stuff? Who decides to make this some type of commemoration? Today is also Cherry Pit Spitting Day. Who? I don't know. Cherry Pit Spitting Day. When I heard this one, I thought of the guy occupying the White House. Joke Day. Today is Joke Day. It's also Deep Fried Clams Day. Don't you love fried clams? I do. And, if you have your choice, do you prefer fried clams with bellies or without the bellies? I'll take them either way. The bellies I prefer. It is National Financial Freedom Day, which isn't bad if you can attain it. But it's National Financial Freedom Day. And I thought, and there goes the brain again. I thought, what about the folks in Bangladesh? Don't they want financial freedom? Don't the Chinese want financial freedom? Folks in many other countries. But it's National Financial Freedom Day. I guess only here in the United States do we want financial freedom. Postage Stamp and Postal Workers Day. Yeah, I did think that, but I'll just kind of step aside on that one in this particular case. It's also Resolution Renewal Day. For those that made some type of New Year's resolution and you broke it already, well, now that we're pretty much at the halfway point, you get to renew that resolution and maybe, just maybe, keep it for a half a year. It's up to you. But today is Renewal Day. It's almost like when your inspection sticker expires and you get to renew it for $35. Or your registration expires. Oh, by the way, woman friend, if you are listening, I did put the registration sticker on the license plate, so you don't have to worry about doing that. But it's like when they expire, you must renew, usually for a price. With a New Year's resolution, maybe there's something to pay, but if you didn't keep it, I guess that's price enough. 1908, SOS is adopted as the International Distress Signal. 1908. Save our ship. 1963. Now here's something. You may or may not have known this. Zip codes were introduced on this date in 1963. Zip codes. I knew that there was a time that we didn't have zip codes. I didn't realize it was 1963 that they were introduced. And zip codes certainly have made the mail move a lot faster. You can take that at any way you want to take that. 2020, NAFTA replaced by the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Has it been ratified? Somebody knows the answer to that, because the last I knew it wasn't, but, time flies, and it could have been ratified. I don't know. 508-9960-500. We have a hefty trash bag of a show for you today. Let's see. Hour 2, our big government stories was actually set up before a lot of the other government things like Supreme Court decisions came out. But I think it's very important because here in the Commonwealth, we have what is known as the Comprehensive Health and Physical Education Frameworks. Yes, it's a mouthful. It's about 33 pages in length. And part of that calls for sex education, and it even says when certain things dealing with sex education and transgenderism can first be taught. So we're going to talk about that during hour number 2 of today's program. Mary Ellen Seigler, who is the administrator for Massachusetts Informed Parents, is going to join us during hour number 2. Right now, it is time for Quote of the Day. Quote of the Day. And it comes from our second president of the United States, one of the founders, one of the framers. His name, John Adams. And I think it's very appropriate considering all of the Supreme Court rulings that came down over the past week.
Liberty, once lost, is lost forever.
Now, that goes out to the victors and the victims from the Supreme Court rulings, because many of the victors are saying, yeah, we got our freedoms back here. And many of the victims are saying, freedoms have been lost. Let's hear from you. 508-996-0500. You're first up today on the program. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the honor of being first. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Today is July 1st, and it was brought to my attention last week that yesterday, the 30th of June, was the last day to pull out petitions to run for office in New Bedford. And I don't know if you know off the top or if you found out yet, but it seems like at this point we could find out from the elections office who has taken out petitions and who might have decided to run against our longstanding mayor, Mayor Mitchell. And if he's going to end up running unopposed, or if he's going to actually have a serious contender for his next 4-year term. It seems like at this point, nobody serious has been interested or willing to run against him and his huge, many hundreds of thousands of dollars war chest, which is disappointing. The way that democracy works is when you actually have two serious candidates running against each other. And
what did you say? How does democracy work?
It works when you actually have two serious candidates running against each other.
So it doesn't work if you have 3 serious candidates running?
I meant that statement in relation to, as opposed to one candidate running. And,
I hear you, and the reason why I said it is because you can easily have more than 2 serious candidates running, and I know you didn't mean it this way, but it could be misinterpreted that what you were saying is you basically need a Republican and a Democrat.
Oh, absolute. Oh, whoa. Absolutely not. I am 100% with you on the need for more third-party participation, more independent representation. And just to be clear, the city of New Bedford elections are technically nonpartisan. I would like to think that I have a suspicion as to the political affiliations of some of our councilors, but, even our city councilors are, they run on a nonpartisan basis.
They do. Yep.
And so, and I just think that, having anything that even resembles a dictatorship, which, I would define as a an environment where the winner is pre-prescribed, and you don't know, and you know who's going to win. I just don't think that that's healthy.
And I would agree with you 1,000% on that. So to get to an answer to your question, I do not know if anybody else has pulled out papers to run for mayor. In fact, I am assuming I haven't heard anything here on the station, not saying that it hasn't happened, but I'm only assuming that Mayor Mitchell is going to run for another term. I don't know that he did pull papers.
Yeah.
Do you?
I could. I do not. I assume he. I assume that he would.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to enjoy the job. I could say many things about that I won't go into right now.
Fair enough.
But yeah, the other thing, I just to change the topic, pivot a little bit. I don't know how much more time you have, but just to pivot a little bit to the affirmative action. I'm 44 years old, and in 1992, I was admitted to a 6-year junior and senior high school that is an exam school. It was a college preparatory program. At the time, they had set aside for approximately 30% of the admitted students to be from an underrepresented minority group, which I am from. I also, grew up in a very educated family, and I just wanted to point out that I've lived my whole life knowing that, not my whole life, but I've lived my adult life knowing that I got to where I am. One of the reasons that I got to where I am is because of the great school that I went to, and that I got into that school not knowing if I got in under a quota or if I got in under my own merits. When minority students benefit from affirmative action, when job applicants benefit from affirmative action, the recipient doesn't particularly know that they got the job on their own merits or if they got the job because of some sort of a quota.
True that.
I just think that that's something that particularly white people, but just the general population in discussing affirmative action kind of misses out on.
I had this discussion yesterday with Barry because I mentioned that I went to North Adams State College, what used to be known as North Adams State College, and I said, quite frankly, I don't know if I was accepted because I fit a particular quota or they thought that, hey, this is the type of person we want. And I said, so anyway, I went there and I enjoyed myself and I graduated and I've made my life pretty much whatever the heck I want to make my life, good, bad, indifferent. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. You don't know. You absolutely do not know. But the one thing that I can't speak for you in particular, but I can say for myself, sometimes you do feel like there's that little target on the back of your back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know, and I need you to elaborate on that a little bit because I also don't know if white people have the same feeling.
Well, I don't know that they have the same feeling because I'm not a white person.
Because I haven't lived that life. Right, exactly, because I haven't lived that life either. But I know what you mean, and I feel like to some extent that has to do with how we're raised. I feel like there was a certain amount of things that were instilled by my parents as black parents. I feel like there were certain things that were instilled in me, that for better or for worse, are still in the back of my head, and I don't know whether that has actually helped me or not.
Well, do you feel successful by whatever measurement that you use.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. That's the only way we can look at it. We feel successful. Damn what other people really think.
No, absolutely.
All right, man, got to let you go, but I do appreciate the call. 508-996-0500. A lot of things on the program. I certainly was going to get into affirmative action and the Supreme Court ruling. There are a lot of other things that we're going to talk about this Saturday. I am also going to be in for Pittman during hour number 1, which would be the 9 o'clock hour today. My Jim Phillips has an update on Town Square Sunday.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips, and here's more on this week's edition of Town Square Sunday. John Bullard joined me, a former mayor of the city of New Bedford. We talked about his new memoir, Hometown, and his public life, really. First as an agent for Whale, helping to create the historic district in New Bedford with immense help from Mayor John Markey. John Bullard's public life was mayor, full of difficult decisions, including the siting of the secondary treatment plant, and then his life with NOAA as a fisheries administrator. John calls that probably the toughest job he's ever had. We also talked this week with Lindsay Misch. Lindsay is the executive director of Massachusetts Design Art Technology. They're celebrating their 5th anniversary in New Bedford with displays of public art. You can see one now at the Norpel Building on Route 6 near the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge, some of the work they've done. They're champions of public art in New Bedford, and they're here, and they'll continue to be here for the time being. Taste of Mattapoisett is our final guest, Sandy Herring and Kate Brown from the Mattapoisett Women's Club. Now, the Taste of Mattapoisett is happening July 11th from 5 to 7. If you'd like to eat, get there by 6:45, please, at Shipyard Park in Mattapoisett. There are 11 restaurants contributing, and tickets are available at the door. Join me for Town Square Sunday morning at 6 and 11, 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's time now for the Bitcoin Business Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. And let's see. Bitcoin, down from last week, $285, coming in this morning at $30,412. Ethereum is at 1916, up $25 from last Saturday morning. Binance Coin, $241, down 8. XRP is at 46 cents. That's down 3 cents. Cardano is down a penny, coming in at 28 cents. Dogecoin is even at 6 cents. And Litecoin coming in at $107. We didn't have Litecoin in the top 7 last week. That's your Bitcoin Business Barometer for today, July 1st. I get the numbers, as always, from CoinMarketCap.com, CoinMarketCap.com. And although Bitcoin is down $285 from last Saturday at this time, I got to tell you, if you bought that Bitcoin last year on July 1st, you would have paid $23,653, but the turnaround, you would be up over $6,700 today. Not bad. If you bought that Bitcoin 3 years ago on July 1st, 2020, you would have paid $11,116. You would be up more than $19,000. Very difficult to find a 3-year period where people are not up with the Bitcoin. That's your Bitcoin Business Barometer for today, July 1st. 508-996-0500. On my routine trip through downtown, by the way, it was very foggy. Very foggy when I left the humble abode this morning. I couldn't even see the sign over at the Country Shop Aid to tell you what the temperature was. That's how foggy it was. But getting into New Bedford, things were looking a lot better. I did not. Here's one. When I got into downtown New Bedford, as I do my scan all the time, where are the homeless today? I did not find one homeless person sleeping at the bus, sleeping at the library, sleeping outside the Bay Coast Bank. I didn't see any. Didn't see any in that little park across from Freestones and at the back of the that other bar. I can't even think of its name right now. Didn't see anybody out this morning. Normally there are at least 3 or 4. Nobody today. I guess that means we don't have a homeless problem, so to speak, anymore. At any rate, I didn't see anything there. Did see some wonderful looking boats and yachts over at Pope's Island. And even the marina side over in Fairhaven looked very spectacular early this morning. Frederick Douglass. I've made 2 or 3 trips since last Saturday to the new monument over at Abolition Row Park. Frederick Douglass, he's still sitting on that rope. His butt has got to be sore from sitting on that rope. Be that as it may, Frederick is getting some visitors today. A group of Cape Verdean women are going to tour the park. Here's the other thing that I've noticed, not necessarily in the park, but surrounding the park. On the 7th Street side of the park, handicapped parking. The placards, handicapped parking. 3 or 4 different spaces designated as a handicap zone. When you get to Spring Street, it's all metered parking. So I guess if you're going to go tour the park, you either better get there early and often in order to not worry about the meter, or maybe you've got a placard that'll allow you to park in a handicap zone. This one, I was out, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I drove up to Rhode Island, up 177. Those that are familiar, when you cross over into Tiverton, when you get to where the Sip and Dip is, across the street, there is this place that holds flea markets on the weekend. Well, at this particular time of year, not only do they host the flea market, but they sell fireworks. And I said, I haven't bought fireworks in such a long time. I think I'm going to try them out. I pulled in, got out of the vehicle, walked inside, and I looked around. I saw these baskets for $45. I didn't know what was inside them. It's been a long time since I bought a firework. So this woman who was very kind, very courteous, explained what everything is. These are Rhode Island legal. As if I know what Rhode Island legal really is. And I think I did say to her, what are Rhode Island legals? And she started getting into, without reciting the law, telling me what it is. And I said, does anything explode? She goes, no, nothing explodes anymore. And I said, well, does anything really shoot up into the air? And she made a movement. Basically, if I'm standing, something might go up 4 feet from the ground. And I'm thinking, who wants to buy that? What's the excitement over fireworks that don't explode? I said, no more cherry bombs? No. M80s? No. Firecrackers? No. And now I know why in the news they always talk about people going up to New Hampshire. Sounds like you can get some fireworks up in New Hampshire. It doesn't sound like you're getting much, pardon the expression, bang for your buck here in Rhode Island. So I just bought this little thing. Apparently, it's got a little fuse, and it looks like there's a firecracker at the end of the fuse. And when it goes, it's supposed to go psss, like that. And I thought to myself, well, what the heck? If I set this off, the police would probably look at me and say, what's wrong with you trying to light that off? You're not going to get too much attention. I bring that to your attention, and maybe the real reason behind me deciding to buy a firework comes from New Boston. What do they call that? New Boston what? The New Boston paper, whatever it's called. Massachusetts is the only state in America where no form of consumer fireworks are legal. I don't know if you knew we were the only state, but I know you know that they've been illegal. And, you know, they've been illegal since 1943. 1943. Now, you might say, why 1943? Well, according to New Boston Post, 1943 is when Massachusetts outlawed fireworks and a couple of other things. And they did it to prevent the Germans from attacking, figuring that fireworks, and I forgot what the other thing is. I can take a quick peek. What was the other thing? Bonfires. Did you know bonfires are illegal? Haven't you gone to a football bonfire before? Bonfires are illegal in Massachusetts. At any rate, there is now, wouldn't you know it, I guess we could have started big government news already. Yeah, why not? Why don't we? Big government news begins right now.
In a so-called free state, bureaucratic mandates often portray the innocent as guilty. This show is devoted to spotlighting noble victim testimony to expose legal, strong-arm tactics. This is Big Government Stories.
Oh, I like that. There is a bill in our legislature. Okay, remember, fireworks are already illegal. There's a bill to put more teeth in the legislation. It would amend the state's fireworks ban by increasing the penalty and making it a crime to use fireworks in what are known as high-density areas. What's high density? You've got 1,000 people per square mile. Now, I don't know how many communities that fits into a place like New Bedford. But when you think about it, 1,000 people per square mile, that's not that large. At any rate, State Representative Rodney Elliott, I don't know who he is. He's a first-term Democrat from Lowell. He has filed the bill. He doesn't have any co-sponsors to this particular bill, but I can only imagine as it gets debated in the legislature how many others are going to jump on board. It brings up the question, have the fireworks already started exploding in New Bedford? You know, this is usually the time when people call the radio station and they are giving us their complaints because folks are shooting off firecrackers. The kids can't sleep at night. The pets are going, all that kind of stuff. And I like to tell the folks, just be patient. People are blowing off some steam because it's Independence Day weekend. It might be bad for the pets. It might keep the kids up for a couple of extra hours, for a couple of extra days. But folks are beginning the celebration of our nation's birthday. Now, somebody's going to say, Brian, you know they're illegal. Yeah, they are illegal. Why do you think people do it? Why do you think people do it? Why do you think we have an Independence Day? A lot of the things that the founding fathers were doing were illegal at that particular time. In many instances, they weren't harming anybody. Same with firecrackers. In many instances, they do not harm anybody. Oh, they might wake up a kid. They might make dogs run underneath a table or a couch. And sadly, they may trigger PTSD in some people. But do we need to get to a point now where fireworks are so bad that this guy, Rodney Elliott, state representative, wants to make it a fine of $200 to $500 and or potentially time behind bars? I am serious. I am serious. You could get up to 6 months in prison if this bill were to pass and be signed by Governor Healy. Now, if it were Governor Baker, I don't think he would sign it, and then the legislature would need 2/3 majority in order for it to pass. But I don't know. Governor Healy might sign on the dotted line on something like this. By the way, the current state law says if you're caught using fireworks, $10 to a $100 fine. No jail time talked about. So any thoughts? 508-996-0500 to get on to the program for today. Hello.
I want to apologize for calling again, but in the big government news, one thing that you absolutely have to know about. Absolutely have to know.
So
about
I'm sorry. I'm not. I do one person only per show. I do appreciate it, and I don't ever recall hearing you before. So I appreciate your call, but please, once per show. It's been a long time since I've stated it. As I said, I don't recognize that voice. First time for him, but at any rate, I want to get back into this. A $2 to not more than a $500 fine or imprisonment, 6 months, or both. Is it necessary? I think absolutely not. You know, in fact, I would say this was instituted back in 1943 when there was conceivably a threat that the Germans might follow up on what the Japanese did at Pearl Harbor. They had the weaponry, they had the boats and the planes to conceivably bomb the United States. And certainly Massachusetts being a coastal state. I get it. But that should have expired once the war ended, along with the thing dealing with bonfires. But, and again, maybe bonfires have, that bonfire law has been extinguished. But in this particular case, we know fireworks are still illegal and have been since 1943. Isn't it time that we change that law? Isn't it time that folks fight for the freedom to explode fireworks? If at no other time, at least for the week, let's say from July 1st through, let's extend it out to July 10th. Would that be okay? People would make money. That would certainly spawn business here in the Commonwealth, keep people from having to rush up to New Hampshire or down to Rhode Island to get Rhode Island legals. I don't know, but I look at this and I say, once again, when you would think that maybe we could get some freedoms, it keeps on slapping us in the face, slapping us silly. And I think it's time for it to stop. 508-996-0500 is how you get onto the program today. It is also July, and July of 2023 is when the Registry of Motor Vehicles opens its doors for those that have entered the country illegally and have somehow made their way to Massachusetts. Now they can go to the Registry of Motor Vehicles and apply for a driver's license. Not everybody. You have to have some type of proof you are who you are. Maybe it is an old passport. Maybe it's some type of consular book, as long as it's not expired. And, that brings up another question. Think about it with your driver's license, something that, could be your passport, either way. Our driver's license expires, yet we still cannot use it as proof of who we are. Now, I can understand that you can't use it to drive because it's expired and the state wants its money. So you go back and you renew it. It's not like most people don't have to take another test. You just go in there, you renew it, you pay your, I don't know, what's it, $50? Maybe a little bit more. You pay your money and you're on with it. It gets mailed to you. You get a temporary and voila, it's taken care of. But why can't you use that document as legal proof of who you are? Because it expired? It's got a birth date on there. If I go into a bar, and I have an expired driver's license, no matter if I'm in my 50s or 60s or 70s. I go into a liquor store. If I'm in my 50s, 60s, or 70s, if I have to show my ID and that's expired, doesn't matter how old I am. They're going to say, sorry, can't serve you. Sure. Well, our special feature is the Brian's B quote of the day. Liberty once lost is lost forever. And that basically goes out to the victors and victims of this week's Supreme Court rulings. The quote from John Adams: liberty once lost is lost forever. Next hour, we're gonna have a guest joining us, Mary Ellen Seigler. She is the founder and administrator of Massachusetts Informed Parents. The state has updated its comprehensive health and physical education frameworks, which includes teaching third graders that they can change their gender. Third graders. And if you think that's a little odd that they would be teaching that to third graders, wait till you hear what's in store to be taught to preschoolers and kindergartners. So we're going to talk about that during hour number 2 of the program. Hour number 3, which would be the first hour of Ken Pittman's show, I'm really going to delve more into some of the Supreme Court decisions that came down. And if you're thinking, well, where are some of the other things? I'm kind of saving them for Monday when I sit in for Barry on Monday from noon to 3 p.m.